Hi, I'm Elinor Silverstein, and welcome to the Feldenkrais Guild of North America Conference Series, where the theme this year is breath. We will run live September 6th, the 27th, and October 18th, 2024. And today I'm here with my dear friend, Anastasi Siotas, and the title of his workshop is Paradoxical Breathing. Anastasi, talk to us about your workshop.
Sure. Thank you, Eleanor, and welcome anyone who's listening in to hear this brief introduction to what I'll be doing on September 6th. So, paradoxical breathing, first of all, a paradox, what is it? I mean, it's supposed to be, you know, the thing and its opposite, or how do we reconcile when two things are in opposition? And when it comes to breathing, everybody has a certain idea about what normal breathing is. And, most people will talk about the diaphragm, which is the primary muscle of breathing, that when you inhale, it descends. It's actually contracting and descending. And that sort of pushes on your abdominal contents as you're inflating your lungs. And then when you breathe out, the diaphragm supposedly ascends, and maybe your belly falls in, depending on the position you're in or what you're doing. So that's what we call normal breathing. But then there's this other way of breathing, which we all do as well. Like if you cough, or if you laugh, or if you were to belt out a tune, or for me in particular, if I'm chanting, I am Greek Orthodox, and we have chants in our religion, and it's a really interesting scale that we use. And I find that I'm using this paradoxical way of breathing, like pushing out my belly as I'm exhaling, to create the tone, the notes in the chant. So it's just an interesting thing that is about exhaling, and exhaling as you expand your abdomen, in not just toward the front, which is obvious, like that's where you would imagine you'd expand, but also to the sides and to the back, sort of circumferentially. This idea, Dr. Feldenkrais talked about a lot in various iterations of his teaching breathing lessons. And one of the things that captured my attention was when he said, "Well, what do you think a lion does when it roars?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, their belly, you can see this kind of active movement from their ribs down." And so that was interesting to me. And I thought, yeah, what happens when you do want to make a really loud sound? Um, and you push out your belly, the sound is sort of attenuated. It's really powerful. Um, so that's what we're going to be exploring in my workshop. A lesson that unpacks that as an experience, and then talking about the actual structures that are involved, and not just the diaphragm, but finding the diaphragm and then looking at all the what are called accessory muscles of breathing in the ribs and spine and the back and the front.
Yeah, I have taken many of your classes before, and your description and teaching of anatomy and tending to the detail is so easy to understand, and it stays. You remember it forever after that. So, is there anything else you will add to that workshop, or anything you can think of?
Yeah, well, in terms of the experiences, we'll actually play a little bit with what we've got going on before we do the lesson. So I might ask the participants to, with their sound will be off, but they could like yell out or sing, or vocalize if they wish, or as a beforehand test, and then see what happens after we've done the lesson, if there's a change in that experience. So a little bookending of the experience of doing the lesson, and how you are before and how you are after. But one of the other things that's very interesting about this way of breathing, or exploring this way of breathing, is how it affects the the limbs, like your arms and your legs. And I thought this was also an interesting point that Dr. Feldenkrais brought up, in that when you learn to push out your abdomen as you exhale, when you improve your exhale, which is actually, by the way to improve your inhale is to make
Mhm.
sure your exhale is full, thorough, and complete, and then your inhale will be spontaneously a lot easier. But I digress. The thing about the limbs that's interesting when you work with this paradoxical way of breathing is that you become more stable in your legs, like you feel more grounded, more rooted to the ground. And this is borne out by Dr. Feldenkrais's knowledge of the martial arts and his talking about in jiu-jitsu, judo, kendo. He mentions aikido, I think. Anyway, he mentions many of these Eastern martial arts and how it's a given that you will learn to do this breathing into the hara, sakya and hara. I think I can't remember the exact terminology, but breathing down into your abdomen and expanding that to become more stable, to become less able to be thrown, and that when you breathe out and you pull in your abdomen, you become more unstable and it's easier to throw people. And he talks about that in his lessons. And I think the experience is there too for us. So we'll also look at our stability both before and after the lesson. And then in terms of the arms, also this way of breathing can free your arms. So I don't know, we'll play with a few interesting reference movements, test movements, whatever you want to call them, to do with how stable you feel, how free your arms are, and how easy it is to project your voice both before and after the lesson. So I think that could be a lot of fun for people. Not to mention me, I don't think it's possible for me to teach and not talk about the anatomical component of this stuff. So, I did say we'll talk about the primary and secondary or accessory muscles of breathing, but I think we'll also talk about this whole idea of volumetric expansion and how
Yes.
the cylinder of our trunk is being affected by this way of exploring the breath. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll get to laugh, we'll get to cough, we'll get to yawn. There's a few things we'll play with in the lesson, and both artificially and intentionally with the lesson. So I think it'll be
Wow.
fun.
Anastasi, thank you always for everything that you offer, and you are a phenomenal teacher and sharer of great information. So,
Well, thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to sharing what I can with anyone who can come along.
okay, see you soon.
Bye now.